May 6, 2013 meeting and public hearing of the Falls Church Planning Commission is now in session. Mr. Stoddard, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. John?
Present.
Ms. Hockenberry?
Here.
Ms. Meeks? Oh, Mr. Meeks. I'm sorry. He's not here today.
It's a good thing he's
Good thing I got this paper.
Yeah.
Mr. Rankin? Here. Ms. Rogers?
Here.
Ms. Teets?
Here.
Mr. Wodiska?
Here.
I would hear a adoption of the agenda motion, please.
I so move.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Good. Agenda is adopted. Are there any planning commission reports?
I have a couple.
Okay.
Um, Lindy and I went to the Fair Housing 101 session last Monday, and it was a really good presentation on all the different fair housing rules that we should be aware of as we're dealing with all these developments. And Mr. Snyder, I don't know, will they provide materials to the council people and planning commissioners that did not attend?
We certainly can make those available.
I think that would be good. It's good to get a refresher on that as we're dealing with different developments that involve housing, and I thought that was a pretty good
Because I
presentation.
think the last time I went to something like that was maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah, so I think there were some of the council members were there and one of the EDA members, so it would probably be good for all those that did not attend to get those materials.
We will get the materials and get it to the other commissioners.
Get the PowerPoint, because it was very,
Okay.
Yeah, the PowerPoint was succinct. It was easy to get it, and we don't want to make a mistake in that area. And then just this evening, I guess at 6:30, Lindy and I were at the South Washington Transportation Plan meeting, which was an update of what the changes that are going to happen on South Washington. There's going to be an intermodal transit center placed on South Washington near Hillwood. Hillwood's going to be realigned so people could actually cross. There are going to be 2 other crossings, because right now South Washington, if anyone's ever tried to cross it, is very difficult to cross. So we're going to have 3 different sections and some bike lanes put in. It's actually going to be kind of nice. I think it's going to slow traffic down a little bit on 29, which now can be a little bit crazy. And actually, I think it will be helpful for the businesses as well to see traffic slow down a little bit on that road as a major commercial corridor for us. So anyway, so that went really well, and that project, it seems like it's going to take forever to get to, but we're probably maybe a year and a half away from construction, so that's better than it was. And they still have several hurdles to go through with the federal government and also Fairfax County. And that's it for me.
can I follow up on?
Yes, you may.
Just to follow up on Melissa's report of that, I think also that Transit Center will be a really good thing to have with the Lincoln development down at the Saab, and then not as much, but somewhat with the Harris Teeter development. But, the whole idea that we're actually having a hub of some kind so that people can walk there, take a bus to either one of the metro stops, and bike and all that kind of stuff. And I think that eventually we'll be looking at a bike share, and it's a good step in the right direction. The other thing I wanted to report on that I was going to talk about it last time, but it was inappropriate with the Boston bombing. But there was another street festival up at Mad Fox a couple weekends ago, and the use of that plaza in there was really good. The fact that they could close all the streets off and the other business owners didn't mind, and people could go over there and eat also, and also the fact that the Festival Street design worked beautifully on that side where the Mad Fox is, with no curbs and things, so they could put tables out there and everything, and it was just really, it was a lovely day, and it was very well attended. So again, looking for places like that so that we can have gathering places, and that was one of the reasons that we wanted that place, even though we still didn't get a fountain that works, but
We have a meditation rock.
yeah, we got, a fountain where the kids throw back in the meditation rocks and plugs it up. But this summer should be nice with the yogurt place there, and you know, and the new restaurant, they've got seating up along the side of their building now, the Moby Dick's. And so, you know, it really is plenty of room for that, and just really looks nice, you know, I think that's great, but just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Wendy. Any other reports from?
Just have a quick question.
Okay.
Regarding that transit area, you know, I was looking down the street, looking west from Hillwood, and I noticed that there's a wonderful tree that sits between, I think it's Hillwood, and then where the taxi place is. Is that going to be saved?
I believe it's a Zelkova tree. I don't believe it will be, but we'll have to see when they get closer to final engineering. It's a large,
Yeah, I was just curious because
it's probably about a 15 or 20-year-old. I think it's a Zelkova zerata tree. Very nice tree.
Yeah, it is very.
Yeah. Which is, that tree is done well in a difficult environment, so that might be a good tree to replant. That species is done well there. Yeah.
They have a lot of hardscape, I think, in that plan. Any further planning commission reports? All right. Are there any petitions from the audience on items that are not on our agenda? Seeing none, we will move on to the planning director's report.
Well, first I wanted to thank members of the commission who were able to attend and help out with the South Washington Street meeting, a public meeting to unveil the draft plan on Saturday, April 27th at Columbia Baptist Church. We had a beautiful day, and we were competing with a lot of other events, but we had a good meeting and appreciate the kind of feedback and input we got. We are working to type up the notes, and we got a lot of them from the folks who attended and gave us comments. And as soon as we have those, we'll be sitting down and sharing those with you. Also wanted to mention we are moving ahead with the planning for the June 1st small area plan kickoff for City Center. And as you know, in looking at the South Washington Street plan, which is now online on the city website, there is a lot of information and thought about what should happen next door at City Center. That kickoff meeting is scheduled for Saturday, the 1st of June, and that will let us begin to work over the summer and early fall to work on developing those plans in more detail. So we'll be looking forward to, again, support and participation by commissioners in that meeting. Those three plans then will have completed our Washington Street corridor, which is an very important street here in the city. So again, many thanks for the commissioners who participated, and for those of you who weren't able to come, the website has the plan, so you can get to it electronically, and of course feel free to contact the staff, and we'll be happy to walk you through any questions you might have on that. Those who did attend, I think, had a good experience, and I wanted to commend Paul Stoddard, who did the coordination on the staff side to put everything together. We had interdepartmental teams, folks from Public Works and economic development, as well as planning staff, and all in all, I think it was a very successful meeting. And of course, many thanks to Columbia Baptist, who has a terrific room for this with multimodals and the large tables. So many thanks to them for, again, hosting it, because a large meeting like this needs space, and so we appreciate that very much. I did want to mention that one of our staff members, Kirsten Deschemaker, is now back out of rehab, and he is now at his mother's house, and we're able to have him do some telecommuting work, so he's happy to be able to do some part-time work with us again.
Jim, I think you should explain about the rehab.
Okay.
Each time you say rehab,
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Kurt had as some of you know, he had when we had an icy spell, he slipped and broke his leg and had a lot of surgeries, and has been in a center that has helped him build his leg strength back. So he is.
I didn't want him to get a bad rap on this.
Thank you. It never crossed my mind, but I could see how it would be taken the wrong way. So he's been working real hard to get back that strength, and we're very pleased that he's, again, able to start doing some work with us. And he has a computer, and he's got remote access now to the city. He's
probably very
So
happy.
he's happy to be doing it, so we're pleased with that. We did have a good send-off for Wendy Block-Sadford, who I think today is her first day as the transportation director for the city of Fairfax. So we wish her the best of luck. On an acting 6-month basis, Paul Stoddard has been appointed to stand in for Wendy. And he's also tonight standing in for Deborah G., who is enjoying some time with her new grandchild and her daughter. So we have a number of people wearing hats. Laura Bruce has been standing in for Deborah doing Historic Commission and HARB. This points out that we have a busy staff, but we don't have a lot of backup, so we are learning to back each other up. And again, we appreciate your forbearance if we should not be as good at something as Deborah has been. On the next meeting, we do hope to, in our meeting on the 20, I believe it's the May 20th meeting, we want to discuss with you and prepare for that June 1st kickoff. And also, we'll be doing a presentation that Virginia Tech did and Paul was involved in for what could happen along the portion of South Washington Street that is not in the city's, in the opportunity area. And we think there's some very interesting things which you'll enjoy seeing. We'll also give you an update on transportation projects, including the materials that were sent out tonight at the public meeting on the Transit Plaza and the improvements along Washington Street to continue to keep you in the loop as to how that, what's going on with that. So that'll be the focus of our Monday, May 20th meeting. Again, preparing for the Saturday meeting on the 1st of June. So with that, are there any questions for you?
Yeah, thank you. That was going to be my question, because I realized that it was asked at that Saturday community meeting too, but just why we're not including that little strip that's down along that way, because it is an extension of South Washington Street. It is South Washington Street. So I was wondering why it wasn't a part of it, and will this be kind of considered an addendum to the plan? Or I know the depths are very, difficult.
And it's a very good question. We have been focusing on the adopted boundaries of the opportunity areas, and this area was not within that. We did, though, when Virginia Tech was looking to do a study, a land use class, suggested this area because it has land use and zoning in 2 communities, Fairfax and Falls Church, and it also has a street run by, or partially run by, Virginia Department of Transportation. And so they've done a study looking at both of those conditions and come up with some suggested plans. So this would have a status similar to the other Virginia Tech studies, which will help do a lot of basic research and inform us about what some of the possibilities and potentials may be. So I would see this as a follow-up item that we could take up outside of the opportunity areas, but an area that needs to be looked at because it's one of the strips of commercial and residential mixture in the city. And so it's, we would look at it, but it's somewhat separate from the small area plans. It's kind of a small area plan, if you will, and we'll have to schedule that. But first thing is to, I think, get a briefing on what the students found, and then we can have some discussions with the commission about what you think would make sense, because there are some good ideas that are promulgated in this, and would love to get your reactions to them. Also, it'll help inform us as to what the situation is on the Fairfax side. One thing I did forget to mention, last week we did have a good meeting in Fairfax with Fred Selden and his head planners out at the Fairfax Planning Office. We got informed about the comprehensive plan amendments that they were doing on the edge of the city near the school, and talked about the upcoming boundary adjustment process. We also did some coordination with regard to the Easter Seals project that is coming up before you tonight. And we also had some conversation with Elizabeth Haig, who is the staffer running the Seven Corners revitalization effort. So we're making good progress and good conversations with Fairfax about our mutual planning issues, and they couldn't have been, it was a very cordial, professional, collegial discussion, and we hope to continue that back and forth so that we keep each other informed and could cooperate with one another.
Could I ask one further follow-up?
Yeah, let me.
Or let somebody else can do it.
Let me just, I was, after going to that South Washington Street Plan meeting, I was surprised to read in our local paper that we had changed the city center boundaries and had moved them around. So I thought maybe I had attended the wrong meeting. I don't remember us saying anything like that.
But that is a good point. There was some discussion in the paper about new location for City Hall, and that was not discussed at all in the meeting. It's not part of the plan. There is, in the town center area that was shown in the plan, there is a large site that consists of the Tower Shopping Center and the properties owned by the Episcopal Church that is well suited for a coordinated town center type development, not necessarily a real dense area, but it would be one of the larger combined parcels. So the plan is showing that there's the potential for that because there aren't that many sites that you can put together that have that kind of size and good access. So
Well,
that was not part of the plan.
Yeah, it seems to me that we talked about it being developable, but it was never mentioned that what we were going to put there.
No, and the fact that it's been retail, it probably wants to have a good retail component. The concept of some shared parking in a structure, I think, makes some sense.
Right.
And the plan shows some hypotheticals of how that might be designed in a way that would be complementary to the historic church, which is nearby. So,
Right, absolutely.
thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
That was not part of the presentation.
I looked at that and said, ooh.
What I said is, I thought it was at that meeting.
No, we did not talk about that at all.
I was just going to follow up and say, Jim, could you please keep us informed as to what's going on up in the Arlington side, too, with the new development that's coming in up there? So we know what's going there and how that's going to affect that whole area. And, you know, we also have the streetscape plan up there that we haven't heard anything more about. And that was such a wonderful plan, and particularly for the entrance to the city up there and along the 4 Mile Run. So it sounds like they're moving right ahead with that. How far along is that plan for the development that's coming in up there, do you know? Arlington side?
The plan has been revised. I'll provide you with an update at the next meeting, if that's okay. The plan has been revised. I think there was a proposal to have some kind of a small grocery that I believe has been dropped. So I'll check with the Arlington people in terms of how viable they think this latest plan is. I think it's been downsized somewhat, but it leaves out a couple of key parcels, the animal hospital and the Mercedes repair garage. And so it would have a very minimal presence on Lee Highway, which, of course, that part of Washington Street in Arlington is called Lee Highway. And so it would not, I don't think, do all that the county had hoped it might do for that side of the street. But I'll check with them and find out what the latest is. We are following it, but I'll give you a more detailed update at our next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have no old business, so we will move on to new business. And our first order of new business is subdivision of 1110 South Washington Street from 1 residential lot to 3 residential lots, zoned R1B. We're going to hold a public hearing and look at the application.
Lauren Bruce will be providing the staff report. It's really your pleasure as to whether you want to have the applicant go first. And
Would the applicant prefer to come first, or have our staff report first? Okay. Hello, just give your name and address.
I'm Terry Woolsey, and I own the property at 1110 South Washington Street with my wife. And I have been working with staff for about 6 years now, talking back and forth and figuring out how to deal with the property and what their advice is. And I've enlisted the help of Walter Phillips. John Gavorkovich is back here to do the plats that are before you. Also with me is my son, Aaron, and many of my neighbors are behind me. And my wife couldn't be here. Her mother is ill in France, so she's dealing with that. This property's been in our families from 1949. My parents bought the property. And my mother actually ran a private school there for 30 years. And I bought the property from my brothers and sisters in 1986. And we raised Aaron there. So I grew up in Falls Church. I've been here most of my life except for my school years. And Aaron's one of Lindy's former students.
Yeah, I just said,
And,
I know that name.
And so we think this, we've done a lot of work on this with staff, and it's in compliance with the comprehensive plan of 1996. And one of the things I liked about that, my wife and I feel very strongly about this, is that those two lower lots, according to that comprehensive plan, are residential lots. So it keeps the integrity of the neighborhood intact. And then my house and my wife, for the time being, are going to stay in that house. Maybe not that long, but we're going to stay in that house as it is. And we are on Lee Highway there, South Washington Street. Fortunately or unfortunately, as things have happened, we're wedged between two apartment buildings. So it makes sense, though, that these lower lots are residential, because that's where the neighborhood really will end. And then we are up on the highway. So we've done a lot of work to be in compliance with the plan, and we hope we get your approval tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bruce?
John, did you want to say anything, or? I'll be available. Okay, great. Well, what you have before you, as Mr. Woolsey has described, is the property today is known as Lot 11A, and he would like to subdivide this into 3 lots. Of course, if you look on the final plat, you'll see that it's going to be numbered 12, 13, and 14. 14 is the current Woolsey house, and then lots 12 and 13 are the new lots that will be created. If you'll look on page 4 of the staff report, under attachment number 1, you'll see that it's zoned residential, R1B. The total area is almost 3/4 of an acre. And as you can tell, under the zoning code, the Woolseys must have a minimum of 7,500 square feet, and they easily meet that requirement. The zoning administrator has determined that not only is the lot area sufficient, but the width, the setbacks, the yard requirements, all meet the code. And so those are the maps of where it's located. And as Mr. Woolsey has just described, he's on a busy highway, but then on West Marshall you have a residential street that's known as a collector street that leads all the way up to Thomas Jefferson Elementary. One of the issues that we had to address with our staff comments and with the applicant is the creation of a sidewalk. The sidewalk currently ends at the end of Lot 13. So when you get to Lot 14, there's no sidewalk. And we want to improve this area and also gain access to the street of South Washington, or Route 29, so that we can have a better streetscape, better bus shelter, that kind of thing. On West Marshall, we can require it. On Route 29, it's a request, not a requirement. But the applicant has been very gracious in meeting those standards. You'll see all the staff comments if you haven't had a chance to review them. And then if you look at the letters toward the back, there is one letter from a neighbor that is concerned about flooding if there's too much impervious surface, and the current code requires 35%. So that has been reflected in the site or subdivision plan. So that issue has been taken care of. So we recommend that the Planning Commission give final preliminary and final plat approval to the subdivision with the parcel ID of 52-405-033, known as 1110 South Washington Street. In the back, obviously, as usual, we have the sample motion, which is the application number of 2013-0142. So questions or?
Yeah, I have a question,
Okay.
and it has to do with the sidewalks.
Okay.
And I'm sure other people will be asking about that, too.
Okay.
Since this is on the Safe Routes to School plan, I think it's, and because these sidewalks are required, I am leaning towards making sure that that requirement is fulfilled. I drove by there today, and I noticed that there are some trees there, a beautiful big magnolia, but that one is set kind of back into the lot. The other trees are not that significant, so I don't think that, whenever the lot is sold for development, those trees will go anyway. I mean, so I just think the sidewalk's important no matter how the development goes. I mean, even if we had it for a couple of years, it would be good for the kids at school. So I'm just wondering how you see that. I mean, in the staff report, it says that the sidewalks must be completed. Are we being asked to do a variance on this?
No. The applicant is posting a bond, and you'll see that on the site plan. And then, John, if you want to comment on how you made the assessment of the amount that it's going to take to build this sidewalk, feel free, but it's all right here on the first page of the site plan, or subdivision plan.
Okay. It wasn't clear, I think, in the report that a bond was going to be posted. It was just, I think it just said that they either had to be built or a bond. So if something's been worked out, that's a good thing.
And that was my oversight. Did you want to comment?
Hi, I'm John Kovarkovich of Walter Phillips, 207 Park Avenue. This sidewalk section is reflective of more of a VDOT standard, and also the standard that you're seeing on Route 29 right now. And that's to include a buffer strip. If you notice West Marshall or really any other city street block around here, that the sidewalks are really against the back of curbs. So there is a little bit of a concern that the additional grass strip is going to push the grading further back. It's going to eliminate a lot of the trees. In terms of the Woolsey's expectations, I would hope that we would be able to work with Public Works. If this is a section that they want to see, we can implement this section. We can grade up to the swimming pool that's going to remain and make it work. If they would choose to defer to scale it back down after reviewing it at the time of grading plan and consulting with the city arborist, we would certainly be happy to work with them too on that. But the sidewalk, we acknowledge that it's an important improvement. And my only concern is at this point is whether or not what's recommended by Public Works is entirely necessary, considering there's no other section of this sidewalk built this way on West Marshall.
Yeah, I didn't notice that when I went by today. Okay. Linda?
That covered my question.
Melissa? Any further questions? Yes.
Can you explain the sidewalk issue again? Are you, so you're posting a bond to build a sidewalk, which it says here. But you're saying that a sidewalk that's requested is beyond what you're willing to build? Is that
No, it's
just
beyond
need
what is found on West Marshall. And right now, we have not had the bond will have to be reviewed by Department of Public Works.
Okay.
And this will have to be finalized. And then at that point in time, if there's any, my concern is if there's any ability to amend this to get the smaller section, even a 5-foot sidewalk with a half-a-foot curb, but possibly eliminate the grass strip so the grading wouldn't go so far back. But the bond will have to be decided and approved by Public Works, and it's my understanding that the bond has to be posted before the plat is going to be recorded.
One of the things we want to make sure of is that the new sidewalk will meet ADA standards. And of course, if the new lots and houses that get built have a driveway, which we presume they
Right.
will, they'll need to be designed in a way that the sidewalk crossing the driveway or the driveway crossing the sidewalk will meet the ADA standards. And so that may have an impact on how far back that sidewalk goes. Presently, the 3-foot sidewalks do not meet standards, and we'd be looking to get a wider sidewalk, particularly since it does connect to Washington Street. And so trying to provide connectivity would be important. That does not solve all the problems going down to Thomas Jefferson, but I think Public Works in looking at this was trying to apply some of the principles in the Ped Bike Plan to this and trying to come up with a reasonable standard that would give us ADA compliance and good pedestrian access to Lee Highway, as well as good connectivity to those sidewalks that do exist further to the north in the neighborhood. The present 3-foot walk on a portion of this site would have to be made much larger somewhat larger to meet minimum ADA standards.
Well, how does the posting of a bond work? I mean, the properties are sold, the bond is held for the person that's building the house on whatever lot they purchase?
This would be covering, I believe, the estimated cost of those improvements, so that if for some reason it didn't happen, the city could take that bond and build the appropriate public improvements. If and when someone comes forward with a house plan with driveways, sidewalks, et cetera, we'll be wanting to evaluate how the sidewalk, the grading plan, the driveway all work, how they connect up to Lee Highway, and how they connect to the north to existing 3-foot walk, which goes through the rest of the neighborhood.
Well, would the people who purchase the lot, when they put in their, get a building permit, would they be required to put the sidewalk in?
I think the sidewalk would be put in at the latest, the sidewalk would be put in at that time. I believe the applicant has requested that this be something the developers do rather than them doing it themselves first.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it seems a little crazy to put it in before they start digging. But on the other hand, we want to make sure that the developer understands that that has to be done.
there are some challenges as you go closer to Lee Highway where the existing house has kind of a steep
Yeah, it's very
rise and
steep.
slope.
Yeah.
And on the 20th, when we talk about transportation issues, you'll see some ideas that the consultant for the city has about how to possibly narrow down Marshall Street to improve pedestrian connectivity across Marshall on Washington Street. We'll have to see how that fits with the final design, but there is a thought of choking down those entrances where we don't need, so we can have better pedestrian crossings across these busy streets at Washington Street. So we'll be working with the applicant, Public Works, and our consultant to reconcile those plans.
Well, it sounds like everybody's been very cooperative on this.
Sounds good.
Are we ready for a motion, or you comment? Oh, no, I don't. Do we have, I'm sorry, do we have any, anyone in the audience who would like to comment on this application? Yes, please, come forward and give your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Charles Plymire, and I'm the owner of 115 West Marshall Street. I have no objections to the subdivision, but I have an ancillary thing that I want you to put on your to-do list, and that is to reevaluate traffic. We are adding 2 new homes, I assume, assuming it's 2 lots that will be put up, 2 single-family homes. 2 homes by themselves is not going to add any significant traffic to the street, but the street has already got a significant traffic problem. I walk the street all the time, and of course there is no sidewalk. You also have that electrical box at the corner, so I don't know how, it is a little more complicated, I'm sure. But I think you need to address and look at traffic calming. And I'm going to propose to you that you really open your eyes and seriously consider making the street a one-way street during the appropriate rush hours in the opposite way that people would like to go. And do that as an experiment while the development and construction, which will probably take 3 to 6 months, occur during that time, and to evaluate. I'm very serious about this because it is dangerous to walk on our street. And I will point out that several years ago, I was working and a car lost control and was going around 35 miles an hour from 113, starting on the sidewalk, and didn't leave until Mr. Bruno's now property at 117. I threw myself into my yard. People are just out of control. You have to seriously look. And that's going to be my one objection, and I will be here at every meeting, and I'm going to be hammering the developer. And I expect something in a better way to handle traffic. I want resolution on it. And I will say in final that it does affect our values. As a realtor who sold a property on that street, most of the objections on that property were only one thing. The traffic is too much for my children and for me to purchase this home. So it took an unusual amount of time to sell that home. And I don't think the city has evaluated that transportation plan enough. Thank you.
Thank you. The only street on that side with the light, I think.
Stephen Bruno, 113 West Marshall Street. I'm completely supportive of the proposal to make these residential lots, so I just wanted to make that statement. My wife and I are both in support of that. The sidewalk was an issue I hadn't thought about, but knowing that our sidewalks are up against the curb for the rest of the street, it seems to me like it would make sense to continue that as far as possible up the hill. It would look a bit strange if suddenly we had a green space. I didn't give any thought to talking about the traffic on the street, but one thought, I know the city received about a $500,000 grant from the government to provide safe pathways to schools. That street does have very high speed in the evening. We still love living there. It's a great residential street on the off hours that traffic isn't going. It just seems to me that the placement of the 2 speed bumps provides an acceleration zone rather than a buffer. So maybe an additional speed bump someplace on that street would calm it down between the 2 that exist already. That's just my only suggestion. Other than that, I'm completely supportive of it. Love to see a couple of houses up the street from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? I'm going to have Russ speak to that.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Donaldson. I'm at 109 West Marshall. My property actually abuts the Woolsey's property. Obviously, in an ideal world, I'd love for that property never to be developed, but reality is reality, and I support that. I did have concerns about flooding. I have spent $20,000 in the past year to keep my property from flooding, so that's where I was coming from there. But really what I'm here to say to you now is something I hope you'll think about as not just with this property, but as you develop the city, because we're changing the city rapidly, and we are in fact building a lot more big houses and taking up a lot of green space. I am an Arlington Regional Master Naturalist. My house is one of the city's backyard habitats. Some of the trees on that lot are already compromised with English ivy, but there are some really wonderful trees on that lot from the perspective of pollinators and other wildlife. A couple of American cherries, which landscapers call junk trees, but they support over 450 animals, species of wildlife, butterflies, and all kinds of things. Please consider working with some of these developers to put back native trees. We're taking them out everywhere, and we're putting back, quite frankly, Japanese junk. It supports nothing. It looks pretty, but it does nothing. And I think down the road we're going to be facing, all of the world is facing a very serious problem, but we can begin to do something about that. And that's really my biggest concern. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Donaldson. I'd just like you to know that our city arborist is very supportive of planting native trees, and they make comments on the plans when they do the site plans. And so he's pretty forceful. So let's hope that works out for you. And also, Russ, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but could you talk a little bit about the process for streets, traffic calming on the CACT? I know it has speed bumps, but it has that light, and so everybody goes down. Yeah.
Yeah, so as the liaison on the CACT, the City Advisory Committee on Transportation, we deal with traffic calming issues as part of the responsibilities of that committee. And the process is actually very formally established. The fact that you have speed bumps on that street already is somewhat unique. I've been a liaison to it for about 5 years and have not dealt with a street that already has speed bumps. But what it requires really is getting the neighborhood to make an assessment about whether or not it wants traffic calming. And that's through, again, a formal process where an application needs to be submitted to the planning department, and then they review it. And then 25% of the residents need to come to a meeting to talk about those issues, and then there's a formal vote ultimately once the area is determined. And that has to meet a 66% positive vote. But and data is collected, the committee evaluates the data. But one-way streets are not one of the traffic calming things that's in the purview of the CACT. Speed bumps are, even though the city is trying to get away from the speed bumps as just a general practice. But one-way streets, and this is now getting beyond my knowledge, but I believe that has to have a whole new process that goes through either VDOT or certainly the city engineering. So it's not, I know we can't evaluate stoplights, stop signs, one-way streets. So there's certain things that couldn't be considered by the CACT. But for additional traffic calming measures, there's definitely a formal process that maybe the street's already gone through since it has speed bumps.
All of us here are very aware of that process. We went through that process. We're asking you that we don't want to go through the process again. We want you to continue to monitor and improve. And the suggestion is you go look at Rock Creek Parkway and what they do during the rush hour times. And you look at what Arlington's doing in terms of literally closing down streets because the neighbors have had it. Well, I personally have had it. And you all need to come back with a solution that's going to fix our problem. And I will take that with the rest of the street, and I will make it an issue. I'm not going to let up. You have got to come back with a solution to us, not us to you, because you all are the experts on that. We've been requesting it, ad nauseum to the police department and other entities for quite some time, way after the speed bumps have been installed. We actually asked for 3. We only got 2. And frankly, they're failing. Okay? So, I don't want to bitch about it the whole time. I just want a solution. You're the experts. Create a solution. Give us 4 solutions, not just 1. And I gave you 1. Whether it's difficult or not to manage with VDOT has no bearing on me. You all will work that process.
All right, well, the process is set up so that it's not the opinion of, you know, one citizen. It's a process of the community, and everybody needs to agree on it. So,
I don't want to argue. If you want us to open up another process, give us the paperwork. I'll leave you my email. I'll give it to every neighbor, and we'll reopen it.
All right, sir, we are at this point just looking at the subdivision. Okay, so this is a totally different process. So we are going to have a motion on whether to approve this subdivision.
I move that the Planning Commission give preliminary and final approval of subdivision application number 2013-0142.
Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Stoddard, would you call the roll, please? Oh, well, let me just say, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the subdivision of 1110 South Washington Street as presented. Is there any further discussion? All right, would you please call the roll?
Sure, just to clarify, this is for both preliminary and final approval?
Yes.
Okay. All right, here we go. Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Ms. Teets?
Yes.
Mr. Wodiska?
yes.
Mr. John?
Yes.
Ms. Hockenberry?
Yes.
Mr. Rankin?
Yes.
The subdivision has been approved. Congratulations. And we're sorry that your long-term living in the city is going to be over. I just have one question to ask you. Did you used to keep horses on that property?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Uh-huh.
We had a pony, a Cherokee pony for many years on that property.
I remember that well.
And he would get out every now and then, he'd run around West Street or
Yeah.
they'd call us. And kids really would come out of our house and say, can I keep the pony?
Yeah.
What
No.
was the pony's name?
I remember that pony.
When they put the apartment Shamrock.
Okay, and then the Laniers had, Tony the pony.
Yeah.
Laniers had a pony too.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
a niece of mine used to go over there to that house, and she was always talking about the horse.
Well, my mother had a lot of kids passed through that house.
Yeah.
She had 50 children each year, so it
Well-
was a large operation.
Yeah, well, she didn't go to school there. I think maybe she was at school with, maybe at school with you, I don't know.
One of the urban legends
Yeah.
that Tony the pony is that it was supposed to be buried up where we excavated for Mary Ellen Henderson in that site.
Okay, I'm sorry to digress.
Okay, I
but
know we're heading on to the hockey time.
We'll look forward to seeing a nice couple of houses on that lot, and we'll be sorry to lose you from the city.
Speed bump should be, could be.
Good. Okay, we will move on now to other business. The first order of other business is a variance for the Easter Seals project plan for 300 Sutton Avenue. You'll notice that on the dais, when you came in, there was a letter drafted from me and the Planning Commission that I hope you had a chance to look over, because if we send it in, I want to make sure that everyone approves of the language and the purpose of the letter. And also, it would be good if I think this is going to be presented on the 16th of May. If any planning commissioners had the opportunity to go to the meeting, that would be great. I'm planning on the 16th. I'm planning on being there to present the letter, and it would be nice if we had other planning commissioners there. So, is there any discussion on it? Would anybody like to comment? And I would like to get approval on the letter before we go forward.
Okay.
I looked over the memo, and I think it's well-written, and I think it's fine. I think it's good. I'm glad that you're going to actually go and present it in person.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I think it's important that they know that we're
Madam Chair, if I could interrupt.
behind it. Yes.
briefly. Actually, there's two things we're requesting.
Okay.
tonight. First is the motion on,
Oh, on the variance, right.
yeah, Director Snyder's
Mhm.
email or memo to you.
Right.
And to the other members. So you might want to consider approving the motion first. And
Yeah.
then the letter, in essence, backs up the motion.
Right.
If the motion is worded.
Am I doing the letter or the motion? I mean,
The motion.
oh, am I?
Yeah.
I thought I was doing the letter.
No, the letters, if we pass the motion, then the letter will go along with the motion.
And the other thing, just as a matter of note, it would be a great assistance to us if there was a unanimous vote, but that's obviously you guys.
Well, I can't twist their arms, you know.
I would mention one thing on the letter, and we certainly appreciate the commission's interest in this. We have been looking and monitoring, as I'm sure some of you have. There is a lot of vacant parking. The parking lot at Larry Graves Park is basically unused during the daytime. So a lot of vacant parking on Hillwood in front of the hotel. I see one car that's there typically, but the rest of it's open. And so we believe that the variance to allow them to have less than the required parking on site makes a lot of sense. There would not be a formal agreement per se for them to use the Larry Graves parking lot. It's basically an open parking area, and it's available for anybody who wants to use it. It's simply not used during the day. That, along with a lot of street parking, means that the extra parking is available, doesn't need to be replicated on the site, and leaves room for the green space and the play fields. So the letter is a little, I might word it a little differently in terms of we're not going to have a formal arrangement with Larry Graves Park. There's not going to be a letter of understanding or whatever. It's simply available, all 100 spaces of it, most days. So we don't want to complicate things by having some kind of a formal agreement that has to go through Fairfax County Parks or so forth. There's plenty of parking available as is. So
Where would that need to be changed?
Maybe you just take out that one sentence. We can just take out the last sentence of that fourth paragraph. We are hopeful that approving the use of 15-inch, so we just don't need that, because you already mentioned above it that there's empty spaces there.
Well, I guess it depends on what the BZA is going to be before them. Are they approving 15 spaces?
no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's, I just want to know what they'll be
It
considering.
would be to reduce the requirement on site,
Okay.
recognizing that there is
Yeah, I
a
understand,
lot of
yeah.
available public parking. They're not approving anything formal on any
Okay.
other property.
So the last sentence of the fourth paragraph is redundant, or?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
If you take that out, it's
Yeah.
perfect.
And
okay.
then it flows nicely into the shared parking situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I totally support this, but should we word it in any way that doesn't create some sort of precedent that some future person may want to leverage? I mean, is there a way to point out that it's a sort of a special case, or that, I don't think it's a big deal, but I'd hate for someone who has some other use that's not all that great to say, well, hey, those guys didn't have to have all the parking, so.
Well, this is a variance that's just for this specific.
Right. Sure.
It is a
Anyone else doing it
specific
would have to
case.
get a variance as well, I would assume.
I would just like to comment that we do parking reductions for almost every special
Oh, that's
exception we
cool.
have right now.
I'm relatively new to this. And like I said, I think this is a great idea.
I'm trying to think of a project we've done that we haven't had to deal with parking. 24-hour fitness? Yeah, 24-hour fitness might be it, but even they had to finagle their parking a little bit.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Good point, though.
Yeah, I don't think it would set a precedent. Each variance really is, I mean, there are some threads of hardship and that kind of thing, but it's a special circumstance, and I think, you know, they can decide this on its merits without prejudicing some future case.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready?
Wait a minute, Mr. John, do you have?
No, I support this.
Okay.
No questions.
All right, maybe we will get a unanimous vote.
Got a motion?
Yes.
Okay. I move the Planning Commission support the variance application V1547-13 by Easter Seals coming before the BZA on May 16th, 2013, to permit a reduction of the off-street parking requirements from 28 spaces to 13 spaces on the premises known as 300 Hutton Avenue, located RPC 53-114-036.
Is there a second to the motion?
I second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the motion? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the variance application V1547-13. Okay, would you please call the roll?
All right. Ms. Hockenberry.
Yes.
Mr. Rankin.
Yes.
Ms. Rogers.
Yes.
Ms. Teets.
Yes.
Mr. Wodiska.
Yes.
Mr. John.
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
And I would like to say for the record, I want to thank Lauren Bruce for all his hard work,
Yes.
helping to coordinate the various pieces of
And
this.
moving it quickly, too.
Yes. So,
And again, if any commission member would like to appear on the 16th, if I remember right, somebody's children have attended the Easter Seals, is that correct?
My children have, and actually, I mentioned it to other families I knew who had children at Easter Seals, and they're all writing letters sent
Great.
to the BZA directly.
Well, our zoning administrator told me today that he has quite a few emails and letters, so they're coming in, so that'll help.
Yeah, and well, Easter Seals reached out to me, and they are talking to lots of current and former parents, and to get a lot of support. And truthfully, I mean, I go through Hillwood a lot because it's a cut through to TJ from my house, and I've never seen that parking lot Larry Graves used during the day, except by the coolant and heating guy down the road where he needed extra parking for his trucks. So it is definitely, I mean, that does not fill up until, and then I go there for soccer practice all the time, and you do not, even at soccer practice in the evening, it's not that full. So I think most parents just drop off their kids, so it's a very empty lot during the week.
it's a nice resource to have.
Okay.
And it'd
I've
be nice
had
to
so
have
many
it used.
comments that they were excited that this was going to be built. So therefore, I was very happy to know what was being built.
Well, you know, and the thing is, if you go look at what it looks like right now and look at the vacant lot behind it, it will be eminently more attractive than what's there now.
Quick comment. I
Yes.
live in the neighborhood, so I'm really excited about that coming into the neighborhood.
That's great to hear.
Good. Okay, we'll move on to the other business, which is the split lot issue. And we don't have a motion on this. I just want to make sure that everyone has read the letter that I drafted. And agrees with what's been said. Mr. Snyder suggested that the language might be tweaked by the time it gets to the city council, but I thought if we were very firm in saying what we want, what we would like to see, that we might have a little bit of a extra influence on what is of the final language.
Well, we have to have this thing settled. absolutely have to have it settled.
I'm glad we're sending a memo because, I mean, we had that discussion at our previous meeting.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, all we can do is keep putting it in front of them and try to get it moving forward.
Right.
And Madam Chair, if I'm correct, you mentioned you may be able to present this
Yes,
at
I
their
will
May
present it.
13th meeting, at the beginning of the meeting, so that the letter and
Oh, and
the
I.
will of the commission can be presented to them.
There's a mistake in here. It says, oh, no, that's our April 15th meeting. So
Right.
their meeting is what, May?
I believe it's
May
May
13th.
13th, next
Okay.
Monday.
Yeah, it's on my calendar, as is the 16th, so I will be presenting. And any other,
I was gonna say, maybe when you do present, you could emphasize that, you know, we had that listening session in December. It was a pretty long time ago now, and I think people expected us to do something
right,
since then.
And I believe the memo that the manager put together was in April a year ago, so there certainly has been plenty of time.
It was further back than that.
Well, yes, there is history before that, but that joint work session we had was in April a year ago, I believe.
right.
So,
Okay, well, then I will move ahead with this if no one has any changes to it. Okay, great. Okay, let's look at the minutes. Does anyone have any corrections or amendments to the minutes? I do have a question, and Mr. Stoddard, I'm sorry that you're going to have to field this question because I know you didn't do the minutes. It seems to me that on the last page, on page 20, in the motion, that's between 832 and 839, it says the Planning Commission also expressed strong support for the staff edits to the voluntary concessions. I thought we did more than express strong concerns, or strong support. I thought the motion, it was included in the motion. So I'd like to question that and maybe put these minutes off until we get that answered.
Check the recording.
Check the recording.
Sure, I can check the report on that.
That's probably a good
Okay.
thing to do.
So we will continue the approval of minutes until our next meeting. And would like to have a,
Like clarification.
yes.
Is it your whole life you spend at meetings or just most of your life? Page 28,
27, 28 on the front page. It says, Ms. Hockenberry announced that she spends her life at meetings.
I thought you were talking to me. I was going to say, I don't go to these meetings.
And consider that tonight I mentioned 2 meetings that Lindy and I went to, and none of you guys went to. We do have a problem.
Oh, well.
I'm sure she said that, though.
No, I remember you saying it.
Okay.
I can't believe it. She wrote it down in there. Obviously, I didn't read the minutes. too
Well, we're doing,
I will play the role of Mr. Meeks.
okay.
Are we ready to adjourn? I will move to adjourn, because I need to go.
Okay. So moved. So moved, so approved.
And we could leave our binder clips for
Yes.
Goddard.